Remember the adulterous woman who was caught in the act? The Pharisees, the scribes, the religious leaders of the time, the ones who were in the word, in the scriptures, dissecting it, brought her to Jesus and threw her at his feet. And they started demanding judgment. And they were condemning her for the acts she had done. And they were even using scriptures to justify their actions and their thoughts. And instead of Jesus siding with the Pharisees and the scribes, Jesus leans down and gets in the dirt with this woman and sides with her. And he tells those Pharisees and those scribes, if you're without sin, you cast that first stone. And they started to leave one by one, to where all that was left was Jesus and this woman. Jesus down in the dirt with this sinful woman. And he said, who here condemns you? And she looks around and saw no one. And he says, neither do I. I don't condemn you. And he offers her this new life with him. Instead of condemnation, he offers her reconciliation. And think about that story. Doesn't that sound like the church today? Where you have a world that is sinful, that is dying, that is hurting, that is broken. And we're taking the world and we're throwing it at the foot of Jesus, saying, condemn this world. We rain judgment down on this world. Bring your judgment and your fire. We're prophesying destruction. We're prophesying an end. We're prophesying that they're going to pay for their sins. And we think that Jesus is standing right next to us, standing with us, saying, yes, I'm bringing it. But that's not what he's doing. Instead, he's getting down into the dirt with the world, saying, no, I've not come to condemn you, but to save you. Instead of condemnation, he's bringing reconciliation. And that's the message that he's called us to. He's not called us to a message of condemnation. He's called us to give a message of reconciliation. But for some reason, we keep running towards that message of condemnation and judgment. Look what 1 Corinthians 5 says. In verse 17, it says, God, through Christ, is reconciling the world back to himself, not counting men's sins against them. What? If he's not counting men's sins against them, then why are we? Why are we doing it if he's not? Why do we think we have the right to do what he doesn't even do? What's up with that? And it goes on to say this, God has given us, you, the ministry of reconciliation, not condemnation, the ministry of reconciliation. We invite you through Christ's behalf, be reconciled to God. In other words, the Father has made it right. He is stretching out his hand, not in condemnation, but in reconciliation, say, come to me. I'm good on my side. My hand is outstretched, reaching out to this dying world. And I'm asking you to invite the world to stretch out their hand and grab mine. That's the message that he's given us. Not a message of condemnation, a message of reconciliation. I just see that it's time that we start aligning our minds with the mind of Christ and seeing things the way he sees them and aligning our hearts with his heart. You know what I mean? Instead of bringing judgment and condemnation to the world, that we switch to that message of reconciliation and restoration. That no longer are we calling judgment and condemnation and prophesying judgment to this world, but instead, we're bringing restoration to it. We're bringing healing to it. We're bringing a reconciling back to the Father.